Long ago, in a village nestled between golden hills and towering baobab trees, a prophecy was spoken, a whisper carried by the wind, a warning carved into time itself. The elders gathered beneath the sacred tree, their faces shadowed by flickering flames, their voices low with fear. A child will be born without sight, the prophecy foretold. Yet she shall see what no eyes can. She will walk between realms, guided by spirits unseen. And when the time comes, she will bring either salvation or ruin. From that moment, the village waited and feared. For prophecies, once spoken, cannot be undone. In the heart of the village, beneath the golden glow of an evening sun, a child was born. Her name was Zuri, but when her mother cradled her tiny body, she gasped. The child's eyes, though open, saw nothing. She was blind. Whispers spread quickly through the village. The elders spoke in hushed tones of ancient prophecies, while villagers gripped by fear and superstition believed Zuri's blindness to be a sign of misfortune. Her mother's pleas, filled with love and desperation, were drowned by judgmental voices. Yet, amidst the fear and doubt, one heart remained steadfast. Nana Beni, Zuri's grandmother. Where others saw a curse, Nana Beni saw a gift. She cradled Zuri with unwavering love, declaring that the villagers were the ones truly blind, unable to see the destiny woven into the child's spirit. While the village turned away, Nana Beni's belief planted the seed of fate within Zuri's heart, for the world had plans far greater than anyone could imagine. As Zuri grew, her blindness remained, but it did not define her. Though her eyes could not witness the colors of the sky or the faces of her people, her soul perceived what others could not. She felt the whispers of the wind before a storm, sensed the heaviness in a mother's silent sorrow, and noticed the subtle shift in the air when danger lurked nearby. While other children ran freely, chasing shadows and sunlight, Zuri often sat alone, her face turned upward as if listening to secrets carried by the breeze. The villagers saw her as nothing more than a burden, a fragile shadow in a world bursting with light. Their words were sharp, their glances filled with pity or fear. Yet, within Zuri's heart burned a quiet flame of knowing. She understood that true vision was not found in the eyes but in the heart's ability to feel, to understand, and to connect with the unseen. Though the world doubted her, she carried a silent certainty her time would come. Far beyond Zuri's village, the great King Adwell, ruler of the land, fell gravely ill. His breath grew shallow, his skin ashen, and his strength faded with each passing day. The kingdom's most skilled healers tried all they knew, potions brewed with rare herbs, sacred chants whispered to the gods, and offerings left at ancient altars, but nothing could restore him. Fear gripped the hearts of the people. Without the king's wisdom and guidance, the kingdom stood on the brink of chaos. In the darkened halls of the palace, the elders gathered, their voices filled with worrying and desperation. They spoke of ancient prophecies, long forgotten until now, of a blind maiden who could see beyond the veil of ordinary sight. With no cure in sight and hope slipping through their fingers, they made a decision born of both fear and faith. They sent for Zuri, the blind girl the villagers had once dismissed. Though some doubted, believing her to be nothing more than a fragile child, the elders knew when all else fails, even the smallest spark can ignite a fire. Zuri stood before the grand palace, its towering walls gleaming beneath the unforgiving sun. Inside, shadows danced along the stone corridors, thick with the scent of incense and the weight of doubt. The courtiers and priests watched her with skeptical eyes, their hearts closed to the possibility that salvation could come from someone they deemed broken. But Zuri walked forward, her steps steady despite the uncertainty around her. She approached the king's frail body, his life slipping away like water through clenched fingers. Kneeling beside him, she reached out, her trembling hands finding his wrist. The room grew silent, every breath held in suspense. As her fingers brushed his skin, Zuri's world shifted. Though her eyes saw only darkness, her spirit reached beyond it. She sensed a hidden river deep within the forbidden forest, where sacred herbs grew beneath ancient roots, herbs that held the cure. Her words, spoken with quiet conviction, stirred both doubt and hope. Some scoffed, unable to believe that a blind girl could see what they could not. But others, desperate for a miracle, listened. And so, with the kingdom's fate hanging by a thread, Zuri's vision became their final hope. Under the shadow of nightfall, Zuri and her small group of warriors stood at the edge of the Forbidden Forest. Its towering trees reached skyward like ancient sentinels, their twisted branches whispering secrets to the wind. The forest had long been a place of fear, its name etched in stories of spirits and lost souls. None who entered had ever returned, but Zuri was unafraid. While the warriors gripped their spears tightly, hearts pounding with dread, she stepped forward with quiet certainty. The darkness held no power over her, for she had lived within it all her life. She moved with an unseen guide, her feet finding hidden paths that no eye could detect. The forest responded to her presence, the wind shifted, rustling leaves like soft voices, and the trees seemed to part just enough to let her pass. Though fear gripped the hearts of her companions, Zuri's calmness anchored them. She understood that true danger was not in the spirits they feared, but in the doubt they carried within themselves. At the heart of the Forbidden Forest, Zuri reached the river's edge. The moonlight cast ghostly reflections on the water, its surface unnervingly still. The air grew thick with an otherworldly presence, as if the very trees held their breath, watching her. Though no voice spoke aloud, Zuri felt a force and ancient spirit woven into the fabric of the forest. It was not a creature of form but of essence, testing the courage that lived within her heart. The challenge was clear, though unspoken, to prove her worth not through sight, but through wisdom. Zuri stood firm, her spirit unwavering. She understood that true power came not from what one could see, but from what one could believe. A leader was not defined by titles or crowns, but by the strength to honor others, and the courage to stand alone when needed. In the silence that followed, the spirit's presence seemed to shift, as if satisfied with her answer. The river parted gently, revealing a patch of sacred herbs glowing faintly under the moon's soft light. With steady hands, Zuri gathered them, her heart knowing that her destiny was no longer just a prophecy, it was reality. Zuri returned to the village, the sacred herbs cradled in her hands like precious jewels. The palace doors opened before her, revealing the dying king, his breath shallow, his skin pale as morning frost. Around him, the elders stood in anxious silence, their faces etched with fear and disbelief. With calm determination, Zuri prepared the potion, her hands guided not by sight, but by instinct and faith. She brought the mixture to the king's lips, and as he drank, the room held its breath. Moments later, life stirred within him, color returned to his cheeks, his eyes opened filled with clarity and gratitude. Word of the king's recovery spread like wildfire. The villagers who had once turned their backs on Zuri now gazed upon her with awe. The elders who had doubted her knelt in humility, their hearts heavy with the weight of their past blindness. Zuri was no longer the blind girl they had pitied. She was a seer, a healer, a savior. The king himself, humbled by her wisdom, honored her with words that would echo through time. It is not the eyes that see, but the heart. From that day forward, Zuri's name became legend, a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of belief beyond sight.